As a kid, my parents grew asparagus at the edge of our yard. One day, a new neighbor moved in next door and they checked property lines. And overnight, our asparagus changed addresses. It was no longer ours. To get fresh asparagus, I was forced into a life of crime, actually stealing it from my neighbor's gardens. That's how I feel about asparagus. Criminal. Asparagus is special. It's been revered as a vegetable since Roman times, and it shows up in the oldest surviving book of recipes. Its large native range stretches east to west from Spain to central China and north to south from Siberia all the way down to Pakistan. But it has found adoptive homes across the globe. There are decades-old debates about which town or region owns the title of asparagus capital of the world. I've put my own kitchen into the running, but I haven't heard back from any officials just yet, or really anyone at all now that I think about it. Asparagus is a perennial, which means that it'll pop up every spring all on its own. If you start a patch in your garden, you can harvest asparagus every year for up to 20 years. That ratio of planting effort to harvest quantity is pretty unbeatable. If asparagus is grown in a region where it can produce throughout the year, it grows more spindly and less vigorous with each passing year. But in colder or drier climates, it gets a chance to rest. I can totally relate. I get so spindly if I don't get enough rest. Green asparagus is the perfect signal for the arrival of spring. But it's not the only color. You've also likely seen purple and white asparagus. Purple asparagus gets its color from anthocyanins, the same pigments that give us purple cabbage, purple grapes, and, well, pretty much any purple vegetable or fruit. It is a different variety than green, whereas white is the result of a different growing method. White asparagus is grown using a technique called blanching, where soil is mounded around the spears as they grow in order to block sunlight. That move limits photosynthesis, which keeps chlorophyll, more like borophyll, from forming. White asparagus is particularly prized in France and Germany for its delicate flavor and tenderness. Beyond color, the biggest differences between spears at the supermarket is usually thickness. Some are skinny pencil thin, others are thick as sausages. What gives? The thickness of a spear has nothing to do with its age. That is, you can't leave a skinny spear in the ground longer and hope it turns into a thick spear. It is determined by two factors: the age of the entire plant and its variety. So, which size is preferable? Check out this experiment. We removed the woody bottom of fat and skinny spears and tasted them side by side, simply steamed. While both tasted sweet, nutty, and grassy, we expected the delicate-looking thin spears to be more tender, but they weren't. The thicker spears actually had better texture. The reason? The vegetable's fibrous exterior makes up a larger proportion in a skinnier spear. Okay, now it's time for the great asparagus debate. Snap versus cut. And also, what about peeling? As a kid, it was my job to snap the asparagus before dinner, and I just assumed you had to snap the asparagus. That's all we ever did. At Cooks Illustrated, we've tested this a number of times and come to a firm conclusion. Snapping is wasteful and completely unreliable. Check out this experiment. Here is a bunch of asparagus. Now, depending on where I apply force, I can get them to snap pretty much anywhere I want. And even when I get the snapped part to be pretty small, there's still a really good chance that I'm losing perfectly good asparagus while doing so. Well, there is a better way, and that's using your knife. Cut an inch from the bottom of the spears and then check to see what remains is nice and moist looking like this. Then you can use your vegetable peeler to remove some of the fibrous skin just like this. Snapping can result in a 50% weight loss, while cutting and peeling results in less than 30% loss. Okay, now to switch gears a little bit, I just have to talk about a certain aroma that is really unique to asparagus. I'm not talking about how it smells while you're cooking it, but more how it smells after you've eaten it. You know what I mean? The fascinating thing about this phenomenon is that it's been studied a few times since the 1950s, and it's still not fully understood. What we do know is that there are two traits involved. One trait determines whether you produce the smell or not, and the other determines whether or not you can smell it. So, in theory, the world breaks down into 4 types of humans: make and smell, make and can't smell, can't make but can smell, and can't make and also can't smell. Move over, Myers-Briggs. We've got a new way to bluntly categorize our fellow humans. Back to the grass at hand. Asparagus occupies the same space in my brain as things like artichokes and lobster. That is, food so innately delicious, all they need is to be simmered in water and then served up with butter. But asparagus doesn't demand special treatment. It's simple to prep and shines equally bright in countless applications. Let's go to the kitchen and check some of them out. First up, raw. Asparagus is a salad star as long as you know how to prep it. For this one, go with thicker spears, and then use your veg peeler to make thin, beautiful shavings. These shaved pieces add incredible loft and texture to a salad. Then we just combine our lettuce, watercress, asparagus, prosciutto, and pine nuts in a large bowl. Then toss with our sherry vinegar vinaigrette. That is a thing of beauty. Next up, let's hit the grill. Again, we want to go for thick spears so they can hang on the grill for longer without overcooking. Seasoning asparagus evenly can be kind of tricky because salt just loves to bounce off its surface. One way to ensure even seasoning is to brine them. Just poke them all over with a fork and then drop them into a brine of 4 cups water and 1/2 cup of kosher salt. Let them soak for 45 minutes to an hour, then dry them and pop them on the grill. Those smell so good as they char. We'll finish these off with a dollop of preserved lemon aioli and a sprinkle of sliced almonds. And I'm drooling. Finally, a cooking method that I bet you don't associate with asparagus: braising. Everyone knows that crisp, tender, bright green asparagus is the best. What this recipe presupposes is, maybe it isn't. This recipe, by Cooks Illustrated executive food editor Keith Dresser, may make you question everything you know about asparagus cookery. After braising in a flavorful liquid for almost 15 minutes, the spears trade their hallmark crispness for a silky tenderness, and their grassy profile for a sweet, nutty flavor, and that bright green color for subdued greens. We are breaking all of the asparagus rules. And look at us, we're loving it. The key to this recipe is the prep. We'll cut off the bottom and then peel 2/3 of the way up the stalk. Asparagus skin is covered with an impermeable, waxy cuticle that prevents water loss in the asparagus. Good for them, but it makes seasoning them really hard for us. Check out this experiment. We cooked peeled and unpeeled asparagus in water that was dyed dark blue. You can see how far it penetrates into the spears without their protective coating. Peeling and braising also leads to the most tender asparagus you've ever had. And it's really simple to do. I'll add my asparagus to the skillet of water, broth, oil, and salt. Then we just cover and simmer vigorously until very tender, about 10 minutes. Then we just remove the lid and continue to cook until the skillet is almost dry and the asparagus is beautifully glazed, just a few minutes longer. Finally, we gussy them up with a little bit of lemon zest, lemon juice, and chives. Well, I'm in love. Whether you like it raw, grilled, or braised, or anything in between, this is definitely how to eat asparagus. Big thanks to my mom and dad for growing asparagus when I was a kid, and to all of the scientists who dedicated some of their life's work to understanding asparagus smells. We have links to all of the incredible recipes that I showed you today below this video. While you're down there, hit like and subscribe, and when you get into the comments, you have to let me know. Do you snap and do you cut? Also, do you peel? We'll see you next time.